well, good morning and welcome back to another YouTube video. My name is Tom Costanza. I do want to preface this. If you guys have watched any of my videos in the past, this is going to be a little bit different in the style of video. I want it to be more conversational. I'm not a cook, so I'm not going to teach you how to cook, but I want to cook with you. So hopefully we can make things nice and enjoyable. Today we are going to be making Italian S cookies, which I'm very excited for. Let's get right into it. Let's start by saying the oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so really we only need one bowl. Now we need 3 cups of all-purpose flour. So I use this flour for everything, including my pizza. We should have about 3 cups left in here. Also, this place is a mess. My roommate put the 1 cup in his rice bag. So we're not going to start a war, we're just going to take it out. This little cup. So the reason why I am making Italian S cookies is kind of just popped into my head. I mean, one, it's the holiday season, but in addition to the Italian Christmas cookies, which is also on my video, which is also on my YouTube page, these are probably like pretty close to the next best thing. I mean, there's 7-layer cookies or like the rainbow cookies, which are absolutely phenomenal. But then I just like how these cookies are bland. I guess bland is kind of a good word. There's like a little bit of like a twang in them, but for the most part they're pretty bland. They're not really sugary, and that's one of the main reasons why I do like them. And this isn't my recipe. I picked it off of online. I'll put a link to it in the description down below. But this is my first time trying it, and I'm hoping that it really comes out good. But 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and then we're done with the flour. Next, we need to move on to butter. So the recipe keeps it pretty simple by just doing 4 ounces of butter, which comes out to, well, it says 1 cup, but 1 stick. No, just 1 stick of butter. 1 stick of butter is 4 ounces, I suppose. Unsalted butter. But yeah, I guess the original story of how we got into the S cookies, originally from New Jersey. Now I live in Florida now, but I'm originally from New Jersey, and every Christmas, especially Christmas Eve, we would go up to Staten Island. That's where I have family, and I mean, talk about food. There would be so much food up there. It was similar to Thanksgiving, where it was almost guaranteed that you were going to take a nap. But we'd go up there and we would honestly snack on the Italian Christmas cookies first. Like as soon as we got there, it'd be like 2 p.m. And then we would have the S cookies as a dessert, actual dessert. But S cookies for me, they're just like a classic. And I don't put any icing or any sprinkles on them. In the recipe, it does mention that, but I just like a nice plain S cookie. Curious to what you guys think. But what I'm doing here with the butter is just cutting them into small segments. It's just going to make it easier to mix. Since we're not using a mixer, we're mixing by hand. So just cut them into small segments and then throwing them into the flour. This also goes without saying, if I can make this, or really any of these recipes, you guys can definitely make it. So most of the recipes that I do find them online, and there's some sort of inspiration behind them. But I really don't have a crazy amount of skill when it comes to cooking. I kind of just wing it, and the foods typically tend to be pretty good. Now, this is baking, so it's literally just following a recipe. It's like chemistry. Now, what time is it? So it's 6:16 p.m. on a Thursday evening where I'm making these cookies. I do want to try and get these done, or at least close to done, by 8. So my fiance is currently at work. She's a nurse, and she gets off at like 8. So, or no, she gets off at 7:30, and then she's probably around home around 8. So she knows I'm making these today. At least she was hoping that I was making these today. So I'm hoping that I can get these done. This butter though takes a long time. The rest of the recipe really isn't that difficult. It's like, I looked at it, it's like arts and crafts. I mean, you basically just throw everything together and then you're rolling it out like it's Play-Doh and just making an S. Oven's already preheated. I do have to get 2 cookie sheets out and parchment paper to lay them on. But I feel like it's just going to be like I'm playing with Play-Doh. It just says cut the butter into small pieces and mix with hands. So make sure your hands are clean if you care about the people who are eating these. Or if you don't care, well, you do you. Okay, the butter is done and my hands are a mess. Now, we're going to try and keep this hand dry if possible. So the recipe just says mix with hands the flour and butter until everything's properly covered, and it's the butter and flour is kind of like a breadcrumb. That's what it says. So I'm just going to kind of get my hands in there, just mix everything up best I can. Now my hands right now, they're very warm. I don't know why. It's kind of cold in Florida right now. It's 64 at night, so it's, I mean, it's not that cold. But this might take a little bit of time too. Forearms are getting a nice little workout in. It says not to use a mixer, so I guess it's pretty important to use your hands. We're gonna speed things up by just using both hands and scratch what I said earlier about keeping one clean, one dirty. So what I'm doing in the bowl is just grabbing flour and butter and just, I mean, pretty straightforward. Just squeeze everything and ground everything up best you can with your hands until you have breadcrumb. So probably I'm just going to speed through this unless I can think of something to say. I did do a little bit of preparation, and by preparation I mean I wore a white shirt, so you're not going to be able to see all the flour that gets on my shirt, which is huge. I do have a few different aprons, which I don't really have a reason why I don't wear the aprons. I should, especially because I have ruined some nice shirts by getting olive oil, ironically or not, on the shirt. I still have the shirts. They're more so a gym shirt, and it is kind of unfortunate that they are ruined, but yeah, I tell people that I got olive oil in my shirt and they're like, that's fitting for you. So, but this kind of looks like Parmesan cheese, if we're being quite honest, but I'd say everything's kind of mixed in. It's like the consistency of grated Parmesan cheese, the fake stuff with the green, you know. Anyway, the next step is to create a little bit of a well in the center. So basically just pushing the rest of the butter and flour to the edges, and just creating a hole in the center. Then we have to add in the rest of our ingredients. So it's 2 eggs, a cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, a grated zest of 1 lemon, and then a half a teaspoon of salt. So I'm just gonna wash my hands real quick. Okay, wash them now. Let's get all of our ingredients out now. To the fridge. 2 eggs. Don't move. Cup of sugar. So, sugar's up here. Okay, get a cup of that. Baking powder, also up here. Baking powder. Oh, story behind the baking powder. So, the baking powder, it also gets used in the Italian Christmas cookies. And this was rookie cook, Tom. I saw baking powder and just, oh, let me get the baking soda. So, 100 Italian Christmas cookies later, I try them, and they taste like a pretzel. So when it says baking powder, make sure you grab the baking powder. That's a pro tip. Vanilla extract, grated zest of 1 lemon. So we have 1 lemon and a zesting tool, and then a half a teaspoon of salt. We have our salt here. Now, as far as measuring cups, we have a cup. We just need the teaspoon and the half a teaspoon measuring cup. Teaspoon and a half teaspoon. Okay. Now, do the 2 eggs first. How come the egg drips whenever I move the egg? Like, never drips whenever I'm hanging the egg over it, waiting for it to drip. It always drips after. Anywho, 1 cup of sugar. Yeah, I feel like this is like kind of like a 1-pot recipe. Pretty much, they give you all the ingredients. Just throw it in the pot and then just mix it together. Hope it's a good recipe. Also, I am kind of curious. I do want to create kind of a community. So if you guys have like any recipes or anything cool, whether it's baking or any type of food, send me a comment that you guys want to send me a recipe, and I'm very curious to try it. I do want to expand on the cooking things and kind of engage with you guys. So, sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, it's also the majority of my cooking, I would say, is Italian based. And that's not, well, I guess it's kind of by choice, but like also that's just the way that I was raised. So my family basically eats a bunch of Italian food, and I mean Italian food's good. I think it's great, but I do want to expand my horizon. My fiance is Filipino. She makes Filipino food, but I want some good recipes. One. Two. Oh, God. Vanilla extract smells so good. I've never tasted vanilla extract, but I have seen videos of people tasting vanilla extract. And it doesn't look like it goes over too well, if we're being quite honest. So now we are going to zest a whole lemon. Hopefully we can do this relatively quickly. Oh, it smells so good. In the recipe, it does say that you could zest an orange too. I'm curious if you guys have ever made S cookies. Do you guys prefer the lemon, the orange, a lime, all three, or something else? So, I mean, very curious. I do want to try croissants at some point. I've just seen so many videos of bakeries, and I mean these are like the best of the best in the bakeries, but the croissants just look so good. Like they roll them, put them on the tray, pull them away, and then they bring them back, and they're just proofed like beyond belief. And they jiggle, and then they put them in the oven, and they're just, I mean, a work of art. As food is, but I mean, yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, let's say it's properly zested. That's all we need there. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. God, this is such an easy recipe. This recipe, it yields 48 cookies. And I did look, so I was a little bit skeptical when I saw a cup of sugar. I've made a few recipes in the past that have had a cup of sugar, and that honestly just like scares me. It's like, okay, well, there's a cup of sugar in here. How many cookies is it going to make? But this one makes 48 cookies, so I think it comes out to like 4 grams of sugar per cookie, which I could live with that. I have made, I think it was one of the breads. I don't know if it was like the pumpkin bread or probably both of the breads. They both, I think, call for like a cup of sugar, and then like there's other things with sugar in it, and it's just like, oh my God. I mean, they taste so good, but it's like, okay, every bite of this is 6 grams of sugar. I mean, I just made that up, but it's like, you can only make that once in a blue moon. But once we have all the ingredients in, basically the recipe just says to like whisk the middle together, basically like the eggs, the sugar, whisk all that together with a fork, and then eventually start incorporating the flour and butter together. So that's what I'm doing right now with a fork. Then eventually it says, once it gets too difficult with the fork, then start using your hands as if it is like a pizza dough or a bread dough, to an extent. But I'm starting to work up a sweat now at this point. Did hit upper body earlier today, including triceps, and just pressing down into this, it's cooking. We're gonna clear our table here a little bit. Honestly, since my hands are gonna be dirty, I should take a sip of water. I needed that. Sugar, vanilla extract. If I put them away, I mean, just remove them. Okay. Now, okay. Again, my hands are hot, so I don't want to put my hands on it too much. I kind of want to be like light with it. But it does say to kind of knead it and bring everything together. That way it's just one uniform dough. Oh my god, that smells really good. Holy. Smells really good. So let's try and get somewhat organized here. Now it doesn't say to let it rest. Like normally I feel like with like some of the cookie doughs, it says like make it into the ball and then let it rest in like the fridge for like 30 minutes to harden back up. You can double check, but this one doesn't say that. So that's kind of another reason why I don't want to heat up the butter too much with my hands. But I'd say that is pretty good right there. What we're supposed to do is cut it into, the recipe strictly says, cut in half, cut into fours. And then it says, cut each quarter in half. Essentially cut in eighths. Whoa. Okay, so it says, roll each eighth into a 6-inch segment. 6-inch. Yep. 6-inch segment. We cut it into 6, and then we need to roll each piece into a 4-inch segment in length. And then we just make an S. It seems pretty straightforward. So we're just going to see if we can make carbon copies. Carbon copy S's. And I'm not sure, I'm just going to space them like an inch apart. I'm not sure. It doesn't say how far to space them, but I can't imagine these expand too much. I didn't use too much baking powder, there's no yeast, we're not letting it rise, so. But this is what I meant by it's kind of like playing with Play-Doh. I feel like, actually, if you're making this and you look at this, like, look at this. Like, if you're gonna sit here and tell me that it doesn't look like Play-Doh, like you're kind of out of your mind. It's just, like it melts. If you hold it for too long, it melts. So, to that point, it's not Play-Doh, but actually, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna speed up through everything. I'm gonna bring the camera a little bit closer, kind of maybe, I don't know, we're gonna figure out a good angle, and we're just gonna do a quick time lapse of the next 40 cookies or so. Oh, while you guys are watching this time lapse, I am actually pretty curious. So for our tradition, again, I said right now I'm in Florida, but our tradition is I still go back up north, and we still do Staten Island for the holidays. Again, we visit my grandparents, but I'm curious to see what your guys' Christmas traditions are that you guys do, whether it's a certain dessert, certain location, whether you guys travel every Christmas. Very curious what you guys do. Okay, we're back. We have over 48, count them, 48 S cookies. It was honestly quite therapeutic making them. Honestly, no, this sheet was therapeutic just because it's perfection. This one, I just wanted them to be done with. But nonetheless, they're all going to taste the same. Now we pop them into the oven for 10 to 12 minutes until golden brown. So I don't know if we're supposed to rotate them. I assume you are. So we're going to ask Siri to set a timer for 5 minutes. And we're just going to switch them in 5 minutes. Okay, so 12 minutes have elapsed. I think they're pretty golden brown. Yeah, they're golden brown enough. Okay. So this is one cooling rack. Makeshift. Here's the second one. So I'm realizing now that my microphone wasn't plugged in for the last however long this video is. So hopefully you can hear me clearly now. But more importantly, hopefully you could have heard me clear for the last 25 minutes or so. Smell the lemon zest, so that's important. You can see the lemon zest. So now I just have to let them cool. Wait for my fiance Chloe to come home, see the smile on her face, and then we can eat some of these cookies. Okay, so these cookies have properly cooled. It is 9 o'clock at night, so nothing better than putting sugar and carbs in your body at 9 o'clock at night. Here we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I can have about a zillion of these. Oh yeah. The lemon zest is it. This recipe gets 5 stars from me. Thank you very much. Well, thank you. Again, gonna put the link to the recipe in the description below. That way, if you guys want to try it out, watch the video, try it out. Click the like button if you like these types of videos, and I will see you guys whenever the next video is ready. I have no idea yet, so peace.